Have you ever watched someone's dream vacation disintegrate right before your eyes at the gate? Not from a missed flight or a lost passport, but from a quiet bureaucratic conversation that ends with a stunned, heartbroken senior traveler being gently led away from the jet bridge, their boarding pass now meaningless. It's a scene that's becoming less of a rarity and more of a silent crisis in terminals across America. I've seen it firsthand, the confusion, the humiliation, the sheer panic that replaces anticipation. And what most people don't realize is that the rule book for flying as a senior is being rewritten in real time, not through loud announcements, but through subtle policy shifts, technological mandates, and a risk-averse culture that sees age not as a number, but as a liability. So let me ask you this directly, because your experience might be the most important data point we have. Have you or someone you love over the age of 70 faced unexpected hurdles, extra screenings, or even denial at the airport gate that seemed to come out of nowhere? I want you to tell me in the comments right now, because what you might dismiss as a one-off bad day could actually be part of a much larger, unspoken pattern that's about to define air travel for millions. Keep reading, because I'm going to connect the dots between what you've seen and what's really happening behind the counter. And more importantly, what you can do to make sure it never happens to you. The story we've been told is simple. Flying is a right. You only have a valid ticket and ID. You get to go. That's the American promise of mobility. But step into any major airport in 2026 and you'll find a different reality. One built on layers of security, liability, and an unspoken assessment of passenger capability. For seniors, this assessment has moved far beyond the friendly TSA agent offering a wheelchair. We are now in an era of preemptive risk management, where airlines and agencies are making quiet, devastating calculations long before you ever reach your seat. This isn't about discrimination in the classic sense. You won't find a memo saying, "Deny all 75-year-olds." That would be illegal. Instead, it's about a cascade of intersecting policies, each with a plausible justification that together create a perfect storm for older travelers. Let's start with the cornerstone of modern travel, the real ID. By now, you know you need one. But do you know how it's being used? The Real ID was sold as a security measure, a way to verify identity more thoroughly. And it does. But at the gate, it's also become a first-pass filter for coherence. I've watched gate agents scrutinize the IDs of older passengers not just for validity, but for signs of disconnect. If there's a hesitation, a fumble, a moment of confusion when asked a simple, off-script question like, "What was the address on this license?" Or, "Can you confirm your birth year?" it triggers a subtle flag. The agent's demeanor changes. They're no longer just processing you, they're assessing you. This is because airlines have been handed immense responsibility and liability for determining if a passenger is fit to fly without assistance. A passenger who appears confused or disoriented at check-in or the gate can be seen as a potential in-flight emergency waiting to happen. Who becomes responsible if that passenger has a medical episode mid-air? Who helps them during an evacuation? The airline. So that moment of fumbling for your ID isn't just a minor inconvenience. In the agent's mind, it's a data point in a risk assessment you never knew you were taking. Then there's the silent gatekeeper. Airline policy on independent travel. Every major carrier has an internal protocol for passengers requiring assistance. It's not public. You can't find it in the contract of carriage in plain language. But it exists. If a passenger cannot, in the judgment of the airline staff, understand safety instructions, navigate the cabin unaided, or manage their own personal and medical needs, they can be required to travel with a companion or be denied boarding. For decades, this was applied almost exclusively to passengers with visible, profound disabilities or those clearly intoxicated. Now, the lens has widened. Advanced age itself is becoming a proxy for potential incapacity. I spoke to a gate agent in Atlanta who confessed, off the record, "We're not doctors. We have 3 minutes to decide if this sweet 85-year-old lady traveling alone is going to be okay for a 5-hour flight. If she seems spacey, or if her paperwork isn't perfect, or if she asks the same question twice, the safest call for everyone, for her, for the crew, for the other passengers, is to ask for a doctor's note or a companion. If she doesn't have it, we can't let her on." The safest call. That's the phrase that should chill you. It's not about malice, it's about corporate risk aversion fueled by fear of litigation and regulatory reprimand. This intersects catastrophically with the new digital ecosystem of the airport. The 2026 airport is designed for the digitally native. From app-based check-in and digital boarding passes to biometric facial recognition at security and the gate, the entire process assumes technological fluency. For a generation that didn't grow up with smartphones, this is a minefield. I watched a man in his late 70s in Denver nearly miss his flight because his phone's screen dimmed and he couldn't get his boarding pass QR code to scan at the gate. He panicked. The gate agent, under pressure to close the flight, grew impatient. His panic read as confusion. His confusion read as incapacity. It was a downward spiral that almost ended with him being rebooked. He wasn't unfit to fly. He was untrained in the new tools required to fly. The system mistakes one for the other, and there is no grace period, no patient tutorial. The throughput demands of modern air travel punish hesitation. And let's talk about the medical side. The TSA allows medications and medical supplies, but the interpretation of those rules is where seniors get caught. A pill organizer with a week's worth of medications looks, to a TSA officer in a hurry, like an unmarked bag of pills. I've seen officers demand that seniors identify every single medication on the spot. Imagine the pressure. The line is backing up, people are sighing, you're trying to remember if the little blue pill is your blood pressure medication or your vitamin. Failure to instantly account for everything can lead to secondary screening, missing your flight, and a note in your passenger record. Worse is traveling with portable oxygen concentrators or CPAP machines. The rules say they're allowed, but they must be approved models, with a certain battery life, and the airline must be notified 48 hours in advance. I can't tell you how many seniors show up thinking notification means a quick call, only to find the airline has no record, and because the specific model or battery paperwork isn't exactly right, the gate agent, erroneously but powerfully, invokes a safety violation. At that point, it's not worth the argument for them. Denial is the path of least resistance. The most heartbreaking denials, however, come from the collision of cognitive health and security. We are living longer, and with that comes a higher prevalence of conditions like early-stage dementia or simply age-related forgetfulness. An elderly traveler might be perfectly capable of sitting calmly on a flight, but might forget a detail of their itinerary or become flustered under questioning. CBP officers at passport control and TSA during ID verification are trained to spot inconsistencies. Their primary lens is security, not compassion. If your story doesn't match perfectly, if you can't immediately state your destination or the purpose of your visit, you are not just an old person having a moment. You are a potential security anomaly. I witnessed a woman in her 80s returning from visiting her grandchildren, being pulled into secondary screening at JFK because she couldn't recall the exact street address where she was staying. Her son was waiting just outside arrivals, but inside, she was treated with escalating suspicion for nearly 2 hours. She wasn't denied boarding that time, but the experience was so traumatic she now refuses to fly alone. That's a functional denial. It's a soft barrier, but a barrier nonetheless. What about the much-feared mental capacity test? Let's be clear, there is no standardized test. But that's what makes it so dangerous. It's an improvised, subjective evaluation based on a short interaction. Can you follow instructions? Can you respond to unexpected questions? Are you oriented to time and place? A gate agent might ask, "Where are you flying to today?" And then, "What will you do when you land?" A simple test. But for someone with mild cognitive impairment or even just travel anxiety, it can be paralyzing. The wrong answer isn't, "I'm going to Phoenix," when you're actually going to Tucson. The wrong answer is hesitation, confusion, or irritation. The agent's mandate is safety, not diagnosis. When in doubt, they are increasingly choosing to doubt. So, what can you do? Knowledge is your only armor. First, paperwork is paramount. Travel with a recent signed letter from your primary care physician on letterhead stating you are medically fit for air travel, listing any essential medical devices you use, and confirming you are mentally competent to understand safety instructions. It should include the doctor's contact information. This sounds extreme, but it's a preemptive strike against arbitrary judgment. Second, master the technology. Have a paper backup of everything: boarding pass, itinerary, hotel confirmation. But also practice with the airline's app. Have a family member walk you through it. Your comfort with the process is a visual cue to agents that you are in command. Third, travel with a companion whenever possible for long or complex trips. It's an unfortunate reality, but a companion immediately removes 90% of the subjective assessment from the equation. The airline's liability concerns vanish. Fourth, communicate early and often. When booking, note any medical needs. Call the airline's special assistance line 72 hours before, and then call again 24 hours before. Get confirmation numbers or the names of agents you speak to. Create a paper trail. At the airport, arrive early, not just to make your flight, but to give yourself and the agents time to resolve any issues without the pressure of a closing gate. Fifth, present a cohesive, calm front. Dress neatly. Keep your documents in a single, easy-to-access organizer. Answer questions clearly and directly. Make eye contact. You are not just answering questions. You are performing competence for an audience of one who holds immense power. It's unfair, but it's real. The deeper truth we have to confront is that our system is not built for the natural human process of aging. It's built for efficiency, security, and profit mitigation. The beautiful, lifelong dream of travel, to see family, to explore the world, to simply remain connected, is running headlong into a wall of protocols written by lawyers and enforced by frontline workers who are not trained, paid, or supported to make nuanced judgments about human capability. The denials are not happening because of one rule, but because of 100 small friction points that together become insurmountable. We are trading humanity for a sterile, lawsuit-proof ideal of safety. This is the conversation we need to have as a society. Where is the line between legitimate safety concern and age-based exclusion? How do we build an air travel system that respects dignity without compromising security? For now, the burden falls on you, the traveler. Be over-prepared. Be meticulously organized. Assume you will be scrutinized and plan to pass that scrutiny with flying colors. The freedom to fly after 70 is no longer a given. It's a privilege you must actively and sometimes exhaustively defend. Don't let your dream vacation end with a quiet, devastating conversation at Gate B12. Outsmart the system before it even knows you're there.